controversy. The House committee investigating the COVID pandemic issues its final report.
The 520-page document sums up 2 years of investigations and covers a wide range of pandemic-related issues, such as how it started. The report concluding it most likely emerged from a lab in Wuhan, China. Most U.S. intel agencies say the report was not genetically engineered, but its origin is still not clear. The report also criticizes the WHO, saying it placed the political interests of the Chinese Communist Party ahead of its mission to help people around the world. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are mixed, barely moving ahead of today's trading. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
Lawrence County depends on WDXE News, on the air since 1951. This is The Legend. 105.3, 95.3, WDXE.
I think I've got all the buttons pushed. Good morning. It's time for the Rent Right First Class Charter Hour, and my buddy Bill Adams is in here. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Jeff.
I think I've got it fixed.
Do you really?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay.
How about that?
All right.
We're up and at 'em.
Up and at 'em.
Up and at 'em, Bill Adams. How about that? Well, how are you, my friend? Since I saw you last night, as a matter of fact.
Last night. We had a great time at the production. What was the name of it?
It's Christmas again, y'all.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
And,
thanks for the tickets.
Oh, you're very welcome. We had a good time, and you had to get tickets early. It sold out both nights.
It was full. Oh, it's 2 nights?
2 nights, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be again tonight. And so we'll be back there again watching our soon-to-be famous daughter on the stage up there.
That's right. Yeah.
She's enjoyed it, though. She's had a big time.
That's right. It was the Crockett Theater is I'm glad it was restored. I'm glad it was kept.
Oh yeah.
And I remember the days of it was sold to a private individual, and then there was some talk, and they were on the verge of demolishing that building.
Yeah.
So we went through the days. If you remember, we went through the days of just demolition. That seemed to be the wave for all around the country for several years.
Yeah. That was. I mean, it was urban renewal.
Urban renewal, yeah. Thankful it's there, and the way I understand it, it's used a pretty good bit.
Oh, it is. And it could be used even more. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to see it used even more. We're pretty blessed to have that kind of a venue here right in the middle of town. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of opportunity to make some good things happen there. Mm-hmm. So, and last night was a lot of fun. The theater was full. They do it again tonight, and again I think it's sold out. But a lot of community participation, which is fun. That's good. That's good. Well, of course, this hour is the Rent Right and First Class Charter Hour. What's going on at Rent Right these days?
Hanging out. We're in the middle of holiday times, and cool weather's here, but there's still a lot of projects going on, and folks are renting equipment to get those projects done. Trenchers, stump grinders. We're seeing some floor sander rentals right now. Different types of equipment that's needed for those duties, jobs around the house or around the construction site.
Right.
So anything from scaffold to lifts, just give us a call. You can check our website, rentrightequipment.com, and get some ideas of what we rent.
And I don't want to neglect to mention that there's some great gift ideas there for Dad and for guys. For anyone, for that matter. Some great gift ideas with the holidays coming up and Christmas coming up.
Sure. Just mentioned to Charlotte, and she mentioned to me about a limb saw by DeWalt. We sell those.
Yeah.
And that would be good hanging in your barn, by the way. So.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Battery powered. We keep DeWalt tools and also Crest. It's new to the market. Blowers, string trimmers. Come by and check those out.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity there for you, and things to help you get the things done around the house that you need to get done.
Yeah. One of the services I want to mention also is FedEx, and very convenient. We ship and print labels for ground and air freight. So or next day air.
Yeah.
So if you need those packages, small things, you can just do a drop off if you need to.
You know, I've utilized that service
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it's so handy. They'll just label it up for you, and they box it up
Yeah.
and put it in an envelope, whatever it needs to be.
Sure.
And then it's hands off.
It's hands off.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
let them have it.
A lot of the issue right now, there are FedEx drop-offs around like the courthouse square and different places.
Right.
But they're too small. Sometimes there's large boxes, Jeff, that need
Sure.
to be dropped off.
Sure.
Bring those to us. They start picking up around 2:30, 3 p.m.
Yeah.
each day.
Yeah, if you get it there, before 2:30, 3 o'clock, it'll go out that day.
Yeah, we take boxes every day, starting at 7:30 in the morning. So that's very convenient.
That is awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, not only is Rent Right there on Buffalo Road, but so is First Class Charter.
Yeah.
I happen to notice those motor coaches when I go by.
Well, if they're there, they need to be out running somewhere, and we do. We got them all over the country today. You got one in San Antonio, Texas. I think there's one in Nashville today.
Yeah.
There's one down in Alabama somewhere today. So, moving people.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that, you and I are deeply involved with this Lights of Love tour.
Isn't that going to be fun?
That's going to be so much fun. You know, that's a week from today.
Week from today, it is.
It is. That's a week.
That's right.
It's a week from today,
Okay.
December the 10th, hosted by First Class Charter and Keller Williams Hood Company. All the proceeds go to God's Storehouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's $40 a seat. Seats are limited, but things are filling up, aren't they?
We're full. The second motor coach, Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, I said it.
Is just about full. I
Is it
think
really?
as of yesterday, there was 15 seats left
Really?
on the second one.
Wow.
So,
that's awesome. So we're gonna that's probably gonna be about it. Isn't it?
Maybe about it.
Yeah.
And so please go ahead and sign up if you got a family group or Sunday school class that you want to go.
Yeah.
Call the office. Call Keller Williams.
Yeah.
You can go online.
Yeah.
And make your reservations.
That's good. I didn't know the number yet, but that's good to hear. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good deal. It is 8:13, and of course, Bill Adams is in here with Rent Right and First Class Charter, and we're going to just talk about a few things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We'll open up the phone lines too if someone wants to chime in with us. You said you had something kind of on your mind this morning.
I've always, transportation is always, I'm always curious about routes, and we always look at where the motor coaches are traveling and
Sure.
so forth. So we watch maps a lot and roads, just like the damage over in North Carolina, down into South Carolina and parts of
yeah.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's affected us and it's
Yeah.
affected trucking and different routing. So, I'm always curious about routes and road conditions, and it came up. I've always been curious about the Natchez Trace, and also the military road, Jackson Military Road,
Oh, yeah.
and the purpose of those routes, and the history of those routes. And I'm green at it, so we do need some input
Yeah.
on those type routes and what the purposes was and how they were used, and just very interesting.
Well, the Natchez Trace, of course, is an old route that, according to what little bit I know, was from Nashville to Natchez, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
But it's been in play as far as a traveled route for a long time. A long time.
Long time.
And it was somewhat infamous back in the day for criminals and thugs hanging
Yeah.
out to rob people as they traveled that road.
Yeah, that's not unusual.
Yeah, back in the day.
The bad guys seem to find their way in. But slave route, it was used. Natchez was a hub for slave trade.
I didn't realize that, but
and
I'm sure it
also
was.
cotton trade, and that was the hub of the South, and a lot of Northerners would come down and make deals with for cotton.
Yeah.
And the sugar cane in those days. There was no major war that took place in that area and during the Civil War. So that's very interesting. If you go down and do history, do a history tour of Natchez, which I highly would recommend. you're not going to find that there was any battles that was fought in that area.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, I wonder why that is.
I'm wondering.
Is it somewhat protected, I guess?
Well, you had northern generals and southern generals and business people coming together and doing their trading and deals, and they would bring their families for a vacation. Just a beautiful area down there on the river.
I've never been to Natchez.
Let's go.
Okay. And well, I'm in. I would love to go.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
We've done motor coach trips down there.
But now you can't ride the motor coach on the trace.
Yes, you can. First class can.
Really? I didn't know that.
have a first class charter. It's one of the few in the United States that
I did not
actually
know
has
that.
a permit to run the Natchez Trace.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know it. Nobody knows about how to get it, but we found a way, and we have permits to run the Natchez Trace.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
we do.
incredible
Yeah.
because I thought that was like, if you had any kind of commercial vehicle that
Yeah.
you could not ride on
Yeah.
the trace.
Well, there's a caveat to that with people. And if you're hauling goods or
okay.
we transport passengers
Yes.
that do tours.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the system, the interior system, really wants people in tourism on that
So it's
particular
a
parkway.
tourism-driven thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that makes sense because it's a national park.
It is a national park.
It's a national park. That whole highway is a national
It's
park.
beautiful. Have you ever driven? You haven't driven the whole thing.
I have driven
Trace.
most of it, yes.
Yeah,
but
north
I haven't
and
been.
south.
I haven't been all the way to Natchez, but I've been. What in the world?
Yeah,
My phone turned on there.
yeah.
Sorry about that. But no, I haven't driven it all. I'll tell you a funny story. I'll try to make it quick. But many years ago, I worked for the cable TV system. And there was a gentleman that came to work there as the system manager. His name was, and he won't mind me telling you, I'm still a buddy. I still keep up with him. He contacts me once in a while. He was from Texas. And his name was Bob Versace. He was originally from up in the New York area. So he's an Italian guy. But he lived in Texas, and he was the manager of the cable system at that time. And I got to be buddies with him, but he would travel back and forth, like he'd come and stay a week or two and then go back home, and his family wasn't here. But he would drive it all the way back to Texas. And he was trying to find a better route. And I got the map out, and I said, well, you need to go down the trace. I seen where he was. I said, if you go down the trace, he had never heard the trace. And this was the early days of cell phones when they still had the big packs, the big old with the wire and sit in your seat. And so he said, well, that looks like a pretty good route. So he left Pulaski, Tennessee one afternoon. And I said, yeah, go out. I told him where to get on the trace on Highway 64. And I said, turn south. And then when you get to so-and-so, go west. And you'll go right into, across that way and go to Texas.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle of the night, he called me and he says, where in the hell am I?
Oh my!
He hadn't seen a light. He hadn't seen.
That's right.
Because there's no lights. There's no commercial. No nothing. And I said, if you see a little bitty wooden sign that says a town, I said, turn off.
Yeah, he's right.
Because there's nothing. He was lost. He was so mad at me after that.
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
Yeah. We used for years, of course, being from North Louisiana, we used to trace a great deal, traveling back and forth to Lawrenceburg.
Yeah.
And we would know the little stop offs and where the gas stations are behind the pine trees. And it's similar up here to our exit off of the trace in Lawrenceburg and out from Laurel Hill area out there.
Yeah,
you really got to know where you are.
That's right.
So
That's right.
No billboards, just little small signs.
Yeah, you won't see. You won't see any lighted anything.
Yeah, I recommend getting a map.
Yes, get a map.
Yeah,
get a map. Now I have traveled it several times north from here.
Isn't it beautiful
And
going that way?
Going all the way up.
Yeah.
And like you want to go to the Loveless Cafe or something like that.
Which we need to do. Sometime.
Which we need to do.
Yeah.
And so that's a good little trip. But now it's wiggly.
It's wiggly.
Yeah, it gets curvy up in there.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty, and it takes a while because you can only drive, what is it, 50?
Yes.
It's 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a boring 50.
It's a 50-mile-an-hour
But,
speed limit.
yeah.
But I like it. I still like
Yeah.
the trace. I like to travel it every so often.
But it dead ends in Nashville, right there at Vanderbilt's campus, and you'll see signs in Nashville that say Natchez Trace.
Yeah.
And it ends right in that area
That's interesting, isn't it?
to the west of town there. So
Wow.
it's
And of course, one of the more famous spots is the Meriwether Lewis area.
it is. Have you heard about that recently?
Well, what about it recently?
It's going to be a state park, and our ranger Rachel is going to be the overseer of that.
Well, I thought that was a place called the Devil's Backbone.
It's fixing to be recognized as in that area as a state
Yeah.
park. I don't know the details. I saw Rachel the other day,
Yeah.
so I'm really excited for her.
Well, I know where that area is when you go traveling
Yeah.
the trace. There's a sign that says Devil's Backbone.
Yeah.
That area up in there. And I think there's like 900 acres that's
It
been
is.
designated for a state park. And our own ranger, Rachel,
Ranger Rachel.
is going to be
Yep.
heading up that effort
Yeah.
to create that park. Probably going to be more of a rustic type park.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good. She's telling me that there's some other areas that are going to be state parks also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
and we have a beautiful state park here.
We
We're
do.
blessed to have
We
right
really
in our
are.
city limits.
yeah.
The David Crockett State Park is probably one of the better state parks.
Do y'all
that
go
I've
out
been
there
in.
much?
Oh, we used to a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The kids were little, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there was always something, and we had family gatherings years ago there, and of course the restaurants out there. Used to go to the lake and fish some.
Yep.
Way back in. I haven't in a while.
Yeah. We need to get that pool back going.
Yeah, I kind of hate that the pool's not there, and I doubt that they'll do the pool.
Okay.
I think they're probably looking at doing something else
Okay.
there, from what I've heard, but I don't know the details of that. I think they're kind of looking for suggestions, but I do think some of us missed the pool.
Yeah. You know, we did when we were young. We
Yeah.
used it. Our kids used it, but I agree with you. I haven't used it in the last several years.
I was lifeguard there one summer.
Really?
Sure was. I was one of the lifeguards one summer there.
Huh.
Teresa and I were dating. I was about 17 years old. And
How'd that work out for you?
oh, it was great. I listen. Believe it or not, at that time I was in good enough shape. I could dive in on one end of that pool and go all the way to the other end
Yeah.
underwater.
Well, that sounds more attractive. I umpired baseball.
Did you?
Yeah. So that's how that and Hall Hay. It's how I made my.
I was somewhat
summer
of a
money.
water dog back then, but
Yeah.
anyway, went through all the swimming lessons and got my lifeguard
Yeah, you have to.
certificate and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It was fun,
Have to.
fun summer.
But down the trace, yeah, north or south, it's absolutely beautiful. Stops along the way, and I'm just really curious about the history behind that and the communities that popped up.
Oh yeah,
And Laurel Hill out here was a section out there, and the number of homes and homesteads that were in that Laurel Hill area, and a lot of the water system out there that turned the mills and things that they
right.
use off the Little Buffalo. It's fascinating to me.
It's a wonder. There's other communities around our area that were once big, thriving, and now they're not. And you wonder how it kind of went from one thing to the other.
Yeah, you had the turnpike
Yeah.
up here, and that was a traveled route from Nashville to actually over to Memphis and down to Florence, and they'd cross the river there at Clifton, and they would use the river, for barge work and hauling products and things. In Summertown, my point is the turnpike. Summertown was a hotbed.
Okay.
And that was the reason that they tell me is named Summertown. It was a vacation area,
Oh, really?
and you had some springs there that were real nice, and I would say it was some type of water area that you would bathe and swim and recreate there, and so Don't know much about that.
I don't either. And there's another area that kind of came to mind too when you mentioned that. What about Napier?
Napier was big.
It was big.
Yeah.
Napier Lake, and there a lake
Yep.
up there somewhere? Gosh, it's been years since I've been up to that area. Hadn't had any real reason to go. But,
Yeah.
but when I did go, there were kind of leftovers of. It was a vacation kind of spot too. People would go there. There were little cabins here and there, things like that.
Yeah,
I'd
hunting.
I'd like to know
different
more
things.
about that too. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'd have to do some more research, but there was a family named Napier that that had moved in there, and of course, for years that was a big hunting area.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did you know there's an old landing strip out there at Napier?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's an old, I'm not going to say airport, but there was a dirt landing strip there.
Yeah.
It's kind of on the Napier Road.
Yeah.
Back over in there. But
You know, there's been some efforts made, even in our lifetime of trying to create some tourist type places. Clifton made an effort, and they still do. They still have a thriving kind of vacation area, getaway area, that kind of thing. A lot of campgrounds and things like that up there in that area around the river. But they built a golf course. The state built golf courses around. And you remember they called it the Bear Trace.
Yep.
After the Golden Bear.
Yeah.
He designed those courses, and one of them that was supposed to be, in fact, when they designed that course over there at Clifton, they had in mind of actually having some PGA events there, some pro events there, and I kind of heard, I guess, that it never happened because the airport wasn't big enough over there to bring in the jets that the players come in on.
Yeah.
And it was just too daggum far away from some of the bigger places.
right.
And it made it difficult to get land a PGA tour.
Wow.
But that golf course is spectacular.
It is. Yeah. We played it when it was a private course.
Yeah.
Years and years ago now, and then it was purchased.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
And remodeled. But we actually provided a lot of equipment on that when they were remodeling.
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, trenchers and skid loaders and things.
So you've had some hands-on over there.
We've had
then.
some hands-on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really, we love the Clifton area.
Yeah.
And on up to Decaturville, up in that part of the world.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. Sure is.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, Bill Adams, everybody. We're here with the Rent Right and First Class Charter Hour. And he and I are just talking about anything and everything. 766-9393 if you want to chime in on it. I was going to, not to change the subject, we can talk about these places. You know who would be good, and he's awesome, is Clint Alley.
I'd love to have Clint.
We need to. I've had him on,
Yeah.
but it's been a while back. We need to get him. He posts a lot of stuff on Facebook, and he's been posting some about the Civil War marches that came through our area.
There's a lot of that.
And he's mentioned some of the very routes that you're talking about, and when Hood's Army came through and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, well, I do know that we got a caller here that'll chime in with us. You may have to pick up a headphone to hear her. Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'd like to make a recommendation. I worked in continuing education, and brainstorming is really good. If he would set up meetings with a group of old-timers, and I won't call their names, but you know who they are, but the Historical Society, people like that really know about the history. I was thinking about Brinks Lumber Company, for example. If you go to their website now, they have the new version, but if you scroll down to the bottom, they have a picture of the horses and the people shopping there.
Yeah.
And also that would give you a perspective on the historical, and don't worry about what they say because it'll cause your brain to fire and wire and maybe come up with an idea better than anything anybody's recommended. But somebody called this morning wanting to know the history of something. Okay, the second thing is a different group would be brainstorming with people with the colleges in the area, because that's a whole different population getting from point A to point B, the college students or the professors from point A to point B. But I just kind of had those ideas because I used to be on brainstorming groups. And a lot of times when you leave, you just think, oh, well. But later, all of a sudden, this idea of connecting the dots, and also, for example, I was trying to figure out across the street recently and contacted some people because my brother said that he thought on Waterloo Street, this house on the corner of Frisbee and Waterloo used to either be a funeral home or an apothecary. And I forget which one it was, but according to Bobby Alford, it was. He's gone now. But I just wanted to throw out those ideas, getting ideas from older people that have stayed here all their lives or have access. And because a lot of people take day trips, I can't tell you traveling with my husband, national and other out of the country, how many day trips people, and sometimes it's the spouses, not what they're there for, but the spouses just want a day trip from wherever they are, like in a bigger town.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. Well, thank you, hon.
Yeah, that's great. Great ideas there. A couple things that come to mind is, one, I want to throw out our senior citizen here. They do day trips, and they're always looking for new ideas and places to go.
Sure.
And you don't have to necessarily be a member of the senior citizens organization to travel with them.
Right.
So I checked that out. I know we're doing several trips with them throughout last year and this year,
Yeah.
and even into next year. So that's a travel club that keeps their costs down. We try to work with them closely about coming up with suggestions. As far as history, Jeff, Bobby Alford's books, I've got a complete set of those.
Yeah.
And they're fabulous.
They
are. Mr. Alford did a fabulous job. A lot of the information I have from Laurel Hill area came from Mr. Bobby.
Yeah.
So hats off to him and Rob and his family, for
A lot of
preserving
work.
those. There's a ton of work. And I was talking to a researcher yesterday from a retired researcher that worked for the archives, Lawrence County Archives.
Oh, really?
And they came to me looking for information on hotels and motels. They're doing an article on hotels and motels of this area. And our parents on Gaines used to own a small motel.
Oh, really?
Across from the pyramid. I
Oh,
don't know.
yeah.
You remember that? And
Gosh, just barely.
my mom and dad owned that for a short time.
How about that?
yeah.
How about that? How about that? Well, let's talk to someone here. Good morning. How are you?
Oh, just fine, Jeff. I was going to tell you that airport out there at a little airstrip out at Napier,
Yeah.
that was made by the inventor of the polio vaccine, Jonas Salk. He had a home there close by, and he had him a little airstrip there.
There you go.
Really?
That's fabulous.
Yeah,
How about
I'll
that?
let you know.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. We need tidbits like that. It needs to be recorded somewhere. And that history needs, Clint Alley needs to write that down somewhere.
Somewhere. Yes. Absolutely. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing how connected we are, really.
Yeah. The old military academy was around the Admiral Circle area there. And our parents' property was kind of the main front of that military academy. So
What military academy?
Yeah,
I didn't know we had a military academy.
Sure you did.
I did?
Yeah, Boys Military Academy.
When was that?
It's a long time ago, pal.
I didn't get to go to that.
No, you're predated. But anyway, there was a skirmish on that hill or two, and I remember Eddie Shannon and I were talking about it, and he actually did some treasure hunting on my parents' property there.
Really?
Across from the pyramid, and he pinpointed that there was a hood skirmish that went on in that area, and he found some balls and
Really?
things. Yeah,
Interesting.
sure did. Yeah.
Well, there were several skirmishes in the county.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were any major battles that they would like that, but lots of skirmishes up and down the roads and as they traveled and moved.
Well, 64 was not there. Highway 64, East Gaines, that was not a pass through at the time. And they forded. They went around the square. If you can picture where the square is, coming. She mentioned Waterloo Street.
Right.
Came in from that way. Came across the old steel bridge out by the golf course way.
Right.
Okay, and then going south, the way I understand
Now
it.
that old steel bridge wasn't there.
No, it was in that area. There
It was in that area.
Yeah, and but you forded the creek there, and then again, getting out of town to the east, you went across Show Creek over there by Yo Kaufman School.
Yeah.
And Jim Ann and I used to live on Parish Street down the hill, and there's a ford going across Show Creek down in there. And it's just fascinating if you want to track the old paths and the trails and how people moved around in those days.
Used to play on that creek.
Yeah.
My grandmother and my aunt lived back over off of Fall River Road in the T.D. Rayfield's place.
Yep, on the other side of the creek.
Other side of the creek, and we used to. Mr. and Miss Rayfield was kind enough to let us play in their barn and all their farm.
So you lived over in there?
Well, I didn't live there, but my aunt and my grandmother did.
Okay, where?
And I stayed on that circle there. Rayfield Avenue.
Okay.
Right there, and so they were there the whole time I grew up. So I played in that area when I was a kid. They'd let us roam all over. We went and we played up and down that creek and camped out back there on the creek, all that kind of stuff. And we'd dare each other to cross the creek over into the cemetery back there.
Y'all are rough, aren't you?
We're tough boys.
Yeah. I fell in a grave over there one time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, how did that happen?
Well, Daddy wouldn't let me drive. It was a cold, snowy night, and he wouldn't let me drive. And
Yeah.
us kids were playing. It was time for me to go home, and so I took off running, and I thought I really need to walk down the highway instead of, but it was cold, so I decided to cut across the graveyard, and that was.
You actually did fall in one.
I fell in one, son. I was up to chest deep standing on that coffin, and I have never gotten home so quick in my life. I was out of there and gone.
I bet.
Walked in the house and muddy from one end to the other, and Mother, what in the world? I said, well, I fell in a grave. Of course.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it was tough.
That's good.
But, some of the routes, even thinking about from the Natchez Trace.
Yeah.
We're talking to the west in Lawrenceburg here, the Natchez Trace, and then the routes through Piney.
Oh, yeah.
And Orr Road and some of those connecting roads that are very old. But we're so tied to 64 and 43, and those roads didn't really exist in those days. So,
wow.
Travel
was so different. I've often wondered how in the world those armies travel so far. They just walked. I mean, they marched and would move those troops from here to there, and how they knew how to navigate it all.
Well, you use the moon and the stars and the sun and a piece of string and a shadow. And that's
Smarter
how you decide.
folks than me.
Yeah.
And I would say a lot tougher.
Well, we know they were. Can you imagine pulling a cannon all day?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
They're tougher. It was a tougher breed of people back then.
It was. Yeah.
We live the life of luxury these days.
We have.
We have a soft life.
We do.
Even compared to our parents and grandparents.
Oh yeah. You do.
It's a totally different lifestyle.
When did y'all get heat and air? How old were you?
Oh gosh. Well, I don't really remember not having heat and air. I mean, as far as some kind of heat and air. I guess my earliest memories of any kind of heat would have been a wall heater or something like that, or one of those that sit in the floor. Dad did burn wood in the basement, but now we had central heat and air then, but he liked to burn wood. And of course it'd get the house hot. Sometimes you had to open up the doors. I had an uncle, my dad's oldest brother, who he burned coal in his fireplace. I had to sneeze. He burned coal in his fireplace, and I remember being there when it was so hot you couldn't stay in the house. But he would roar it, buddy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. My grandpa used to do that also. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really good stories about heat and air. We had radiator heat. If you remember the water circulating, we had that in Mother's old house on Gaines, and so we had that system. Used that system. Until the 90s, and then
it was good heat.
Coach broke down, bought central heat and air, and took all that out. Big boiler system in the basement.
Yeah.
The boiler's still there.
Yeah.
And so it's quite impressive.
Gosh, But in the days before all that, you had to have your wood heat, I guess, for the most part, wood or coal, one or the other.
But you had the military road. That's real fascinating. You know, we have North Military. We see those names. And then you get into like Loretta and St. Joe. You have military. You know, it's still the old military road,
and
so to speak.
Well, was the old Jackson Highway.
The old Jackson Highway.
Now,
it's all connected.
Was that named after
Andrew
Jackson?
Yep.
Which is before Civil War time.
Yeah.
That goes way on
yeah.
back.
You know, it was Nashville to New Orleans. You know, and we know the trace ended where? We ended in Natchez. So
yeah,
it was you know, really predominant in Alabama, and it was the way I understand it, it was a protected route by the military, and so you know, very much needed, hauling goods and produce and people. You needed some type of protection from the thugs that were working the Natchez trace. Yeah.
Oh, well, I am grateful that we've been placed in the time and place that we have. How about that?
Yep.
I was looking. There we go. Right there. Checking stuff, making sure that we're on like we're supposed to be on. By the way, the phone lines are open if you want to talk with us. 766-9393. My friend Bill Adams in the room here. By the way, let me, if you don't care, promote a couple of things I'm supposed to promote. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
And I meant to do it earlier, but the Miracle on 7th Street Christmas Bazaar is this Saturday. It's this Saturday at Ingram South School. They've been doing this for years.
I read something about that. Tell me about it. What is it?
Miracle on 7th Street Christmas Bazaar. They have lots of vendors that come and set up in the gymnasium and in the halls. They'll be all over that school, and there's all kinds of gift shopping there for you. Unique local folks that have craft items and what have you. But it is the annual Miracle on 7th Street Christmas Bazaar. It'll be at Ingram South School from 8 to 3 p.m. this Saturday. It's at 510 7th Street. That's where the school is located. You can't miss it. Booths will be set up in the gym, in the cafeteria, in the halls, and in the front foyer. They'll be everywhere. You can shop local. There'll be local businesses there, vendors there of all sorts, and they'll have snacks and foods and all that kind of stuff too. So a lot of fun there. Miracle on 7th Street this Saturday.
Ingram South School.
Yeah.
7th Street.
A lot of stuff happening like that. Do you have any Christmas traditions that you just don't miss?
Not a lot.
You know,
That's try to go to bed early.
It's my job to make sure that the tree lights are on.
Well, that is important.
I got to make sure they're always on. I don't like them off. Hey, good morning. You're on WDXE with us.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. This is Jimmy Ann.
Hey, Miss Jimmy Ann.
Just remind Bill Adams, going down that trace is beautiful, but 5550 gets old real quick. But we traveled every other route that we knew how to travel to avoid going to Trace to get down to Louisiana, and no matter what we tried, the Trace was still the best route. we didn't make any better time going interstate doing 65 or 70.
Yeah.
It just didn't matter how we went, the Trace was the best way to go.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think you're right.
So,
I think you're right.
Okay, and stress again on the Lights of Love that it is a drive-through.
Yes.
They'll walk at the Bridge Street, of course, but we'll drive through the lights, so they'll get to enjoy it while they're sitting.
Yeah. All right. Well,
okay, that's it.
Thank you, Miss Jimmy
See ya.
Ann. There's the real boss.
Bye.
There's the real boss right there.
Oh, I know. I straighten up when she talks.
Miss Jimmy Ann wanted to remind you that remind folks that the Lights of Love tour, you'll have free time on your own to walk around the Bridge Street shopping area. Probably a couple hours, something like that. And then the light tour is actually a motor coach ride through the Toyota Field area. And I've not seen it, but
It's good.
They say it's spectacular.
Yeah, it's good. And also at the end, be a gift shop. We go in there and do some shopping.
Okay.
Look around and get some hot chocolate and things. So it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And so I'm looking forward to it. I think we leave at 3 p.m. You need to be at the parking lot at the senior center.
Right.
A few minutes early, and we'll
Yes.
check you in and get you on a motor coach, and we'll get on our way. So
Right,
it'll be a lot of fun.
And it's not requirement, but if you have a slightly used or new coat that you want to donate,
Yep.
we'll take those to God's Storehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all the proceeds, the $40 per seat, goes to God's Storehouse.
Yeah.
Here. So it's going to be a good fundraiser for them.
Good fundraiser. Shout out to God's Storehouse, taking care of people in Lawrence County with needs, with food, with clothes. Their volunteers are fantastic. The team there is doing a really good job trying to meet needs. So
They are.
They need support, and it's a 501c3 nonprofit. They do raise money through the thrift store here in town. So that's where the funds come from. Church contributions, a lot of nonprofit contributions go to them.
Yes.
And I know with Thousand Hills, we rely on them heavily to meet the needs of some of the folks that are
Sure.
in need.
Well, what happens is a lot of times someone who is in need may contact your church or a local
Sure.
church.
Yeah.
And so if the church is aware of it and has maybe even helped support it, God's Storehouse is a resource to help those people in need, and kind of an arm of the church, really, and of the churches.
Yep.
I should say.
Yeah, it's a community effort,
right.
And so I want to encourage everybody to support that and
Yeah,
be aware,
absolutely.
be aware of what they're doing. So we're supporting that, aren't we, Jeff?
We're trying. We sure
Yeah.
are. We are trying, and we got a lot of help this time. That's good.
That's great.
A lot of folks jumping in. To help
Natchez
us.
Trace, going down the Trace.
Yes.
That used to be a family tradition when we had a tremendous amount of family down there.
Yes.
We'd go to what we call the farm, and my grandparents had a farm, a cotton farm on the Ouachita River out from Monroe, Louisiana. So we'd go down there, and you run the trace, and like I said, where the restrooms are behind the pine trees.
Yes.
Maybe French Camp, Mississippi, or different places, and you'd pull in and just fun, Kosciuszko,
Well, one of the things she was pointing out is no matter how you tried to go a different route, you didn't make any better time than you would by going the trace. One of the reasons is there's no stops.
There's no stops.
There's no stops on the trace.
That's right.
And one of my buddies just pointed that out. There's no stops. You can jump on the trace, and you don't have to worry about a red light anywhere.
Yep. You can stop in Tupelo. Tupelo, it skirts Tupelo.
Yeah.
And you can pull off. There's a rest area there.
Yeah.
You're going to have a rest area every 50 miles or so. So,
Yeah.
There
is, that I know of, there may be more, there's only one gas station on the whole thing.
It's closed.
Is it closed?
Yeah.
Well, the last time I was there, it was open.
Okay, great.
But it was a long time ago.
Yeah, at that point, and I'll call the name of it here in a minute, but that point was about halfway to where we go to in Columbia, Louisiana, and that's where we would fill
So
up.
they closed the station.
Yeah, it was closed. It was, and I hadn't been down through there in quite a while. 5 or 6 years, I'd say.
Okay.
It was closed. The
Interesting.
name of it's Jeff Busby. Miss Adams just pointed that out to me.
Oh, really?
So Jeff Busby.
Jeff
and,
Busby.
Restrooms were open. Hopefully it's back open.
Well, maybe.
But that was our spot for picnicking, and there's a camp area there.
I don't remember
Campground
why
there.
I was going down through there, but we were, and we stopped at that store, and it was open at that time. But that's been many years ago.
Yeah. The Indian Mounds down through there.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a beautiful spot. And then, but we would get off at Jackson, take 220 around Jackson, and get on I-20 and run to over to Monroe, Louisiana on 20.
Cool deal.
So anyway, that was a tradition for us for a long time.
Speaking of traditions, it's almost Christmas, old buddy, and I was talking about Christmas traditions, and I've been asking everybody that I've been seeing because I bought one that I thought would be pretty special. Do you like fruitcake?
No, I can give you a story on fruitcake.
Well, I'm ready.
I heard you talking about it
Can't
this
find
morning.
anybody that likes fruitcake.
No, I don't care for fruitcake. Jimmy Ann's dad, Grandbob, loved fruitcake.
Okay.
And so he was the one that would get the fruitcake every year.
Well, me and him would have been buddies then.
Well, yeah, he was a special guy. But I will tell this.
Okay.
Can I tell it?
Sure.
Years ago, this is 15 years ago, somebody gave Pastor Nate, our lead pastor, a fruitcake.
Yeah.
Okay. He doesn't like fruitcake.
Yeah, he don't. Okay.
So he would put it under the shelf under the pulpit. Okay. That fruitcake is still there. Okay. And tradition-wise, somebody would put it back up on top of the pulpit at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And it would be put back under the shelf, right?
That's funny.
It's real funny.
It's probably
if you know the history behind it.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. So
Well, see, there's a good little Christmas tradition that's just fun.
yeah.
That's
That
just
poor
fun.
fruitcake. Yeah, unwanted.
Unwanted fruitcake.
Yeah.
See, I don't know, but I find that it's very few people that do like fruitcake. And what's funny about that, it's like when this season gets here, it's everywhere.
Well, okay.
I mean, it's in all the stores.
Yeah.
There's, you have opportunity to buy it right
Yeah.
and left. In fact, Lanny Hurst called me a while ago, and Banker Frank Ewing's even got it. You can buy it at their window.
Well, praise the Lord. I'm not going to buy one.
Fruitcake.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, how come I can't find anybody that likes it, but it's everywhere and people buy it?
What about your traditions? You plugging in the lights. What else? What else do y'all do that's traditional?
We seem to like, as far as Christmas meal, we seem to like a breakfast meal.
Yeah.
Our family has always seemed to like having a breakfast for a Christmas gathering, and we do all the fixings. Just get everything. And of course, one of the things that I like to do is I'm in charge of making the chocolate for the biscuits.
The gravy.
Yeah. Now I make a hot chocolate syrup. Is what
Syrup.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not really a gravy. It's a hot chocolate syrup.
Okay.
And you pour that over a buttered biscuit, and it's pretty fine.
That'll go with it.
Yeah,
huh?
buddy.
Okay. That's good.
But that's my job.
Yeah. We used to get up just like really early. And that was a little bit of a conflict. Jimmy Ann's family never got up just super early.
Yeah.
We're talking 5:30, 6 o'clock early.
Yeah.
And the kids were ready to open presents. And
Yeah.
Coach would show up with sleigh bells and, wake everybody up and scare the dogs and all that. We did that for a lot of years. And then, so we actually, had to wait after him and Mother got older. It was 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Which, that's not Christmas at that time of day.
Yeah. When I was a kid now, we gathered at my grandparents', and all the cousins and everybody would gather up for breakfast. Everybody got up early and went to grandmother and papa's house.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a huge big breakfast. So that's how, I guess, for me,
Yeah.
I got the tradition of wanting to have a breakfast
Yeah,
for Christmas.
that's fantastic.
Because we would all, get up early, and some of them had to travel pretty far to get there. But
What time of day?
we would have to get there, breakfast time. Like, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock at the latest. We'd all be there and ready to eat breakfast, I guess. But of course, us kids, we got up early because we want to see what Santa brought, So we'd wake all the household up, and then all of us would gather up. So I, reminisce about those days.
Cousins, a lot of cousins.
Yeah, we had all our cousins would gather in, the family would gather in for at my grandmother's house. So usually have country ham and homemade grandma biscuits and all that stuff. So it was a big deal.
We had some old family on my dad's side. They were really friends. I don't. We called them uncle, but I think they were friends. Two funny names, Lick and Johnny. Okay, now these are Louisiana names, man.
Lick and Johnny.
Lick and Johnny, and Jake and Shorty.
Jake and Shorty.
Okay, it was both of them were husbands and wives.
Oh, really?
So now you talk about country.
I bet.
I mean, buck stoves and and Civil War homes, and they were just, it was out in the woods.
Yeah.
So we'd make a special trip out to see both of those. And we lived pretty simple in those days, but these folks, I mean, they were true pioneer type living. So it was really cool.
That reminds me of a story about a fellow traveling salesman years ago. He had to stay, so he stayed at this country house, and they invited him to stay the night because he was traveling. And when they got ready to go to bed, he was overhearing the husband and wife talking. And did you do this? Did you do that? Yeah. And the wife says to the husband, "Did you turn the rooster?" He said, "Yeah, I turned the rooster." So the next morning, he got up and he said, "I heard y'all talking last night." He said, "I'm just curious about something. What does turn the rooster mean?" "Oh, that's our pet rooster. He roosts in the kitchen in there on the flour barrel. We have to make sure he's turned the right way before we go to bed."
What does that mean?
Because he poops in the barrel.
Oh my gosh!
If you don't turn him right, you have to turn him around right so you don't poop in the barrel.
So the rooster stayed in the house.
You have to turn the rooster.
Turn the rooster. Wow.
So I've always laughed about that.
I've never heard anything like that.
He roosts on the meal barrel.
Okay.
And
so they turn him.
He had to make sure he's turned the right way.
So he would stay turned.
Yes.
For the
roost
for the night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
If he turned around the wrong way, it could ruin your flour.
Wow.
So that's country. That's country, buddy.
I know, and I can't speak to that. I don't know anything about that.
That's country when you have to turn the rooster.
That is country. I just thought I was country. I don't know. Turn the rooster.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
that's fabulous.
It's a good story, I thought.
Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway, it is 7:57. We've had the Rent Right Hour. And let's talk to Miss Peggy one more time. Hey, how are you?
This has been really fun for me, but one of the things I've run into working in conferences and traveling is no matter what you do that's fun and exciting, if the food's not good. And I've actually been somewhere where somebody disappeared, an internationally known person, a doctor. Where is Dr. So-and-so? He's out looking for food because we've had all these people come. I was just wondering, 2 hours at a mall sounds like a lot of time. If I were going, I would check with where I want to eat, what we're going to eat with, because there may be waiting lists this time of year. Have they planned ahead for that? I'd be interested in listening if they planned ahead and how people handle that if this is not the first time they went.
Well, I'll tell you. I can tell you about that, okay?
Okay.
All right. You want to listen online?
I listen better that I do my phone.
Okay. All right. I can tell you that there's lots of places to eat at that mall. And it's not a mall. It's an outdoor shopping center.
Right.
And there's, I don't know how many restaurants.
It is. Waterfalls in the center. It's very beautiful. It's going to be dressed with Christmas decorations and things.
Yeah.
Mention some of the restaurants that you like.
Let's see. Well, let's see. Now, some of them you would want to make reservations, like Connor's Steakhouse. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do that, you probably would want to call ahead and make reservations. It's a week from tonight. But Texas de Brazil is there. Mm-hmm. P.F. Chang's is there. The Cheesecake Factory. Mm-hmm. And many, many, many more. Mm-hmm. There's a couple of Mexican restaurants.
Yeah.
There's burger places. There's pizza places.
Yeah. Sub shops.
There's sub shops. There's anything really that you want, from low end to high end, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
You will have time on your own. Now, she's talking about the Lights of Love tour that we're going to do next Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion she made.
She did make a great suggestion. Yeah. And if you do plan on eating at one of those nicer restaurants, you might want to call ahead and make your reservations.
Well,
we'll be down there by 4:30ish.
Yeah.
So you want to make your reservations appropriately if you do that.
And there's a reason we did that. Travel during the daylight hours, and you can hit these restaurants before rush time.
Right.
And also it was planned on a Tuesday where the traffic flow would not be
not quite as bad.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we tried to pick a night that would be kind of easygoing, and hopefully not a lot of people there. There'll be some, of course.
Yeah.
And we're going to have 2 charter motor coaches full. You thought I was going to say buses.
I did. I was trying to pay for my supper.
Yes, indeed. So we're excited about it. Again, if you haven't already registered to do so, if you want to go, seats are beginning to be very limited. But you can go to firstclasscharter.net. You can call them at 762-5778, or you can call my office at 762-5816, and we'll help you get signed up. as long as they last. As long as they last. Bill Adams, it's been fun, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
We don't seem to have any hard time at all finding stuff to talk about.
No, thank you. Thank you for the morning.
All right. Thank you, Miss Jimmy Ann, for the call. Y'all have a blessed week, okay? All right. We got to go.
We'd like to ask people to pray with us together.
There's a NATO meeting today focused on continuing to help support Ukraine in the war against Russia. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is there.
In joining NATO, every ally takes the pledge that an attack on one is an attack on all.
NATO's leader Mark Rutte says he's told President-elect Trump, who claims he can end the war quickly, that a deal